Hey everybody, it's Sam Bam. I'm back. Another top 10 for you. Finally. September 9th, 1999. A historic date. No, not when Final Fantasy VIII came out. The Sega Dreamcast launched. It was Sega's last attempt at the console wars between Sony and Nintendo. And even later, it would be Microsoft, but that's for another time. And while the little console that could gave it its best, it unfortunately failed. And I'm sure there's some people screaming at me right now that this thing was a failure, because it was. But for how little the console was actually around, it left a huge impression on people. So, hey, I'm Sam Bam, and this is the top 10 Sega Dreamcast games.
Number 10. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You know what the Dreamcast had a lot of? Fighting games. I mean, yeah, it only lived for like 2 years, but there are countless arcade-perfect ports that were brought over to the little console that could. And you'd be right to assume that you're going to see more than a few of them on this list, which probably shouldn't shock you if you follow me on Twitter. Speaking of following me on social media, you know what I talk a lot about? Anime. Specifically anything relating to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And in comes the arcade game, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And holy crap, this has got to be one of the best licensed games of all time. Not only is it a great fighter, but it follows the story of Part 3, Stardust Crusaders, to a T. And this was in 1999. The anime adaptation of that didn't come out until 2014. That's insane. I'm sure no one had any idea what the hell this game was, but I'm also pretty sure that this game is definitely worth your time. And considering that it's from Capcom, I honestly wouldn't expect anything less. Excellent fights, over-the-top action, and fabulously dressed men. What more could you ask for? Number 9. Sword of the Berserk. Continuing the theme of anime-based video games, we find ourselves playing the bloody hack-and-slash Sword of the Berserk, based on the manga of the somewhat similar name, Berserk. What's cool about this game was that it takes place between the canon of the series. So essentially it's just filler, and filler is awful. But it's actually really fun filler. You play as Guts, the demon-branded mercenary who wields the mighty Dragon Slayer sword, which him and only him can use efficiently. Most of the game deals with slashing and ripping soldiers to shreds, but you'll also deal with the occasional demon or zombie horde. When Guts is built up enough of the red meter, he goes into rage mode, which makes you stronger and faster than before. It's honestly the best mechanic in the game because it makes you feel absolutely unstoppable. However, that's not to say that the game is perfect. Sometimes the camera can be a little wonky, leaving enemies completely hidden, and because your sword is so big, most of the time you'll just end up getting interrupted by hitting the closest wall to you. All in all, Sword of the Berserk is a pretty damn fun game, and you'll never get sick of slaughtering everything in your path. Well, maybe except for Griffith. Number 8. Sonic Adventure 2. There's a lot of things I could say about this game, but I'll be honest with myself. I have a ton of nostalgia for this game. And no, viewers, I'm not doing this to appease the fact that I haven't done a top 10 Sonic games list, despite calling out all of the worst in the series. It hasn't necessarily aged the best, but that won't stop me from putting it on the list. Sonic Adventure 2 is a fun game when it wants to be. The speed stages are so much fun that that's all I wish the game was. For me, it's plagued by the mech stages, which are just god-awful, but the game shines when it counts. Plus, how could you forget the soundtrack? Besides the typical Crush 40 songs like City Escape and Live and Learn, there's something special about all the rap songs and Knuckles stages that just pop out to me, especially Pumpkin Hill. But gameplay-wise, there's a lot to enjoy in Sonic's second outing for the Dreamcast. Chows to take care of, emblems to earn, and multiple endings? It'll keep you busy for a hot minute. And while the enhanced port, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, was what most people probably played, you can't deny where it originally came from, because it's basically the same game. Number 7. Soul Calibur. So you know how I was talking about, like, fighting games 3 numbers ago? Yeah, well, I warned you. Soul Calibur isn't the first game in the series, but it was definitely the one that popularized it for Namco. And holy hell is it fun. Between the characters' different fighting styles, ring outs, and the beauty of the game at the time, it's no wonder this game made a killing. And Namco would only go on to make the series even better with its sequel. This game was already in the arcades for a couple years, so when it came to the Dreamcast, people just flocked to it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, without the Dreamcast, Soul Calibur probably wouldn't be as popular as it was. So you can thank this little buddy for that.
Number 6.
Jet Set Radio. And speaking of amazing soundtracks, Jet Set Radio, or Jet Grind Radio, depending on where you're coming from, is the definition of funky. But that's only one half of this neon-colored coin. Inline skating and tagging everything in sight is the name of the game, all the while fighting gangs for territory and avoiding the cops. And as dark as that sounds, this is easily the most colorful game on the console. Hell, for the entire console generation. It may not have the most perfect controls, but there's no denying that feel that overcomes you when playing this game. The game screams rebellion, but Sega would like you to know that you shouldn't go tagging everything in real life. Between the soundtrack and the art style, you've got one hell of a game.
Number 5.
Phantasy Star Online. Now at this point you're probably thinking, man, this seems really familiar. Why is this list so much like something else I remember? Because some of the best games on the GameCube were on the Dreamcast first. That's why. If you'll remember from the last top 10 this game was on, I absolutely adored it. And nothing has really changed. Besides the fact that this is where the game originally launched, and with less content, it is more or less the same game. But man, what is it a pain to get working. Point is, Phantasy Star Online is one of the best dungeon crawling MMOs I've ever played, and you should definitely give it a try. Even if all those pirate servers went down, it's still just as much fun offline. And honestly, I wish another MMO would suck me in like this one did.
Number 4.
Resident Evil 2. Now here's where we start to change things up.
Excuse me, Sam, but I believe you meant to put Code Veronica here.
Hell no, I didn't! If we're talking classic Resident Evil 2 is by far the champ out of all of them, including Code Veronica. While Code Veronica may have better graphics, that's really all it's got going for it. Everything else just seems like he was thrown into it just to see what would stick. Resident Evil 2, on the other hand, is about as classic as sequels get. More of everything you loved, and then some. Instead of a mansion, a city, more zombies to kill, secrets to unravel, and more monstrosities to fight. If you haven't had the chance to play some classic Resident Evil, 2 is definitely not a bad place to start. Just give the tank control some time, and I guarantee that you'll love it. Promise.
Number 3.
Skies of Arcadia. Skies of Arcadia is kind of hard to describe without spoiling too much, so I'll just go over the basics. It's your basic JRPG, but in the sky. With pirates. Mother f***ing sky pirates, man. It doesn't get much better than that. Popping in this game instantly fills me with memories of Castle in the Sky and other such media that's sky-based, but that's besides the point. With a semi-real-time battle system, it makes it a lot more of a standout title than the rest of the Final Fantasies or Dragon Quests. With absolutely lovable characters, a beautiful soundtrack, and a bountiful world to explore, Skies of Arcadia is truly one of the best games on the Sega Dreamcast, if not one of the best JRPGs ever made. Unfortunately, because of its cult following, it's going to be a little expensive, but I guarantee you that it's going to be damn well worth your time.
Number 2.
Street Fighter III: Third Strike. With so many fighting games, which is it going to be highest up on my list? Well, it's true that Capcom absolutely dominated the fighting game lineup on this thing. I've got to give it to Street Fighter Third Strike. And that ultimately comes down to how much I enjoy this game myself, and just how technical the game is. And I've mentioned this once before, I'm far from being good at any kind of fighting game, but I'm an enthusiast to say the very least. I've come to appreciate the genre for what it is, competitive good fun. Fighting games are what gives us so many hyped up moments at tournaments, makes us throw our controllers in anger, and make friendly rivalries with complete strangers. And when I think of just how amazing Third Strike is between its character set and combos, just look at this clip from EVO 2004. I get chills every time I see that. It's considered to be one of the best fighting games, period, and it'd be a crime not to put on this list. But what could beat out a game as great as this? So, before I reveal number 1, let's have a quick recap. At number 10, it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Number 9, Sword of the Berserk. At number 8, Sonic Adventure 2. Number 7,
Soul Calibur.
At number 6, it's Jet Set Radio! Number 5, Phantasy Star Online. At number 4, the rightful place of Resident Evil 2. Number 3 is Skies of Arcadia. And at number 2, it's Street Fighter 3, Third Strike.
Number 1.
Shenmue. Of course, only the most ambitious game of the console could land a spot at number 1. With a budget of $70 million, Shenmue was the spectacle of the Sega Dreamcast. With the task of saving the Dreamcast from failure, it unfortunately failed. However, it pushed the boundaries of graphics, presentation, and interactivity within video games as a medium. It was one of the most ambitious games in video game history. Realistic lip syncing, realistic weather cycles, quick-time events, lifelike towns of Japan in the 1980s. It was an undertaking to say the least. And the craziest part is that everything in the game is in real time. No pre-rendered CGI cutscenes to be seen here. And to complement it were stylish cinematic shots and a fully orchestrated musical score. And while its sequel would be seen on the Dreamcast as well in Europe and Japan, gamers in the US would have to wait to grab an Xbox to continue Ryo's journey. And with rumors of a Shenmue 1 and 2 remaster, it'd be the perfect time to revisit the series before Shenmue 3 releases.
But hey, that's just my opinion. These Shenmue's freaking great. I mean, I'm so excited. I backed the thing. Words cannot describe my happiness. Comment down below what your favorite Dreamcast games are. Like, comment, subscribe. Oh god, I hate saying that. Subscribe for more top 10s. If you want to see more, check out the videos on my channel. You know the drill. You've been on YouTube. This ain't your first rodeo. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Later.